What's going on, guys, and welcome to my driver tier list for the 2023 Las Vegas Grand Prix. The highly anticipated Las Vegas Grand Prix has been and gone, and safe to say it was a fairly interesting weekend. It started off, way before it was way overhyped. It was overhyped, and I still think it was way overhyped mainly by F1. The fans weren't really super hyped for it. We then had a lot of controversy in the first 8 minutes of free practice 1, where there was the whole thing with the drain cover, and then, you know, fans getting kicked out of the venue for FP2, and then qualifying came around, which was pretty good, and then the race came around, and it was actually really good. It was, I think, one of the best races of this year so far, and we've only got one more race to go, and it's Abu Dhabi, so I would imagine this would be better than that, although, I mean, we did have 2021 Abu Dhabi, but we'll see what that's like in a couple of weeks' time. But this was a pretty crazy one. It was a pretty crazy weekend altogether, and yeah, we're going to do our usual ranking tier list of all the drivers, starting off with Alexander Albon. Now, we qualified really well. I think it was P6, promoted to P5, I believe, because of Sainz's penalty. Unfortunately, it really didn't work out for Williams. They didn't really have the race pace, despite being really quick in a straight line. It was such a long straight that people could still get past, just about. So it wasn't quite as good as, you know, they were expecting, and as they did in Monza, for example. And in the end, yeah, due to strategy and just a few little bits here and there, Albon only finished P12. So it was a bit unfortunate in the end. I'm going to give him a B because it was a good qualifying, and yeah, it kind of screwed over mostly by strategy in the race, I think, but all in all pretty good. But it very disappointing for Williams to not pick up any points after such an amazing qualifying. Fernando Alonso had a bit of another fairly weak weekend, a poor weekend. He's only had a couple so far this season, but this was one of them. Ended up finishing P9, so did score a couple of points, but although he did outqualify his teammate quite considerably, he did not do good in the race. He literally spun on his own at turn 1 right at the start, and yeah, just really was pretty off this weekend, to be honest. I mean, he still finished in the points. He still managed to come back. Lucked out a little bit. I say lucked out. I mean, the safety car was a lot to do with his incident, but yeah, the safety car kind of helped him out, brought him back again, finished P9. But I think it's going to have to be a C for Alonso. He's beaten his teammate in qualifying considerably. The Aston Martin didn't look that good here, but, you know, Stroll went and finished P5. We'll get onto him later. But yeah, Aston Martin didn't look that great initially, and then yeah, in the race he just made a few too many mistakes. So a C, that might actually be not quite harsh enough, but he didn't crash out, he spun. So I'm going to go a C. It could be a D, to be honest. Maybe even it should be a D, because let's be honest, it wasn't good from a lot. You know what? I'm going to give him a D. I've changed my mind. He's had a lot of very good grades this season. I'm going to go D, because literally spinning at the first corner is not very good. And he's been beaten by his teammates who started way down the back, because I think he had a penalty, didn't he? So didn't do well in qualifying anyway, and then yeah, got the penalty, I believe, and it started right at the back. So yeah, I'm going to go D for Alonso. Valtteri Bottas, did he finish? P17, I think he did, yeah. 85 seconds behind the leader, apparently. But yeah, a good qualifying from Bottas. I think he qualified 10th. He got into Q3. But then in the race, just kind of couldn't really do anything. And I don't know why he ended up 17th. I think he actually had some damage, didn't he? I think he got damage right at the start from... was it Alonso going into... No, it wasn't Alonso. Was it Perez? I think it was Perez that went into the back of him, maybe. But yeah, very unfortunate because of that. I'm going to give him a B because he did get into Q3. He had a good qualifying, and then got, yeah, a bit screwed over right at the start of the race and had damage. And yeah, not so great from there onwards. But I think I'm still going to give him a B because I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It was a good qualifying. Pierre Gasly. Yeah, really interesting one for Gasly. At the start of the race, after all the carnage, I think he was sitting P3, pretty much right at the start. After all the chaos at turn 1, he was sitting P3 and was looking really good throughout the whole race. And then in the last few laps, he just completely dropped off a cliff, fell behind his teammate, fell out of the points to P11. I don't know why. I've heard rumours about something that, well, one, he was really struggling on the hard compound tyres, but also he may have had some sort of battery issue, is what I've heard. So, really unfortunate for Gasly. I don't know how to grade it because he was looking so good this weekend. His qualifying was amazing. I think he qualified 5th, which put him 4th after Sainz's penalty. So that was an amazing qualifying from Gasly when his teammate was out in P16 in Q1. And yeah, was running really well for the whole race until the end. So it's difficult to judge. I think I'm going to have to go B. I can't really go higher than that. I mean, if he managed to finish, well, really up where Ocon was after the qualifying and everything as well, it would have been an easy S for Gasly. But yeah, it might have been not his own fault that he fell back, but he did really fall back and out of the points as well. So I just don't think I can give him higher than a B for that. Lewis Hamilton, a forgetful weekend for Mercedes for sure. Finished P7, did not have a good qualifying. I think he qualified 11th, so missed out on Q3 just about. And yeah, he was looking slower than Russell this weekend as well. Only finished ahead of Russell because of Russell's penalty for turning in on Max. But yeah, pretty poor weekend for Hamilton. I mean, the car wasn't there either. I'm going to just go down the middle and give him a C because I think the car wasn't good. But he did get beaten by Russell this weekend apart from, Russell's incident. But yeah, not the best weekend for Mercedes, although they have at least scored double points, which is something, I guess. Nico Hülkenberg. Yeah, a bit of a poor weekend for Hülkenberg. Did not finish P19. I can't remember exactly what happened to him, if he had damage. I think it was a mechanical problem. Pretty sure the only driver who retired with damage was Lando Norris. And yeah, didn't have the best qualifying either. Magnussen managed to get through to Q3. And yeah, Hülkenberg unfortunately didn't quite make it this time around. So I'm going to just have to go for a C for Hülkenberg. There's not really much more I can do. Charles Leclerc now finished P2, got pole position. It's another pole to not a win for Charles Leclerc, but my God, did he put up a good fight. And honestly, if it wasn't for all the carnage and safety cars, I think Leclerc was going to win this race with everything that was going on with Verstappen as well. I'll be honest, Verstappen kind of lucked out with the safety cars. It really helped him out because I think with that 5-second penalty, yes, he was probably quicker than the Red Bulls, than the Ferraris, sorry. But I don't think he would have. He wasn't that much quicker. I don't think he would have caught up to Leclerc if it wasn't for the safety cars. Maybe he would. I don't know. But we'll never know. But yeah, it's an S for Leclerc. He could not have done anything more. Yes, he could have had a slightly better start. And yeah, he did make that mistake, which let Perez through, but then getting him back on the final lap made up for that, in my opinion. So, yeah, a super race from Leclerc. Such a good race. Awesome battling for the lead. I just wish he won the race, but, oh well, it is what it is. Another win for Verstappen. He just needs more. He needs them all. He has to go for another one. He has to win in Abu Dhabi as well. I mean, if he doesn't, that'd be kind of crazy by this point, to be honest. But I was really hopeful that someone else, even Perez, was going to win this race, but no. Still, Max Verstappen. Kevin Magnussen finished P13, and yeah, had a very good qualifying. Qualified, or maybe he qualified P10. I can't remember. He was like 9 or 10 in Q3. I'm going to give Magnussen a B. He had a better weekend. I'm not sure where he was running in comparison to Hülkenberg. It was very all over the place, but he's finished outside the points. He's at least finished the race. Whether Hülkenberg had a mechanical issue or not, it doesn't matter. Magnussen had good qualifying, so I'm going to give him a B for that. He's had some very flat C and below ratings, actually, Magnussen, this season, so I think a B is a good enough result for him. Lando Norris. Yeah, didn't get the lap in Q1, got knocked out, P16 or 17. Then, yeah, and both McLarens knocked out in qualifying. He did out-qualify Piastri, but neither of them really set a great lap time. And then, yeah, it was only like lap 4 or 5, I think, into the race. It wasn't very long, and his car apparently bottomed out round a left-hander where you're kind of also braking, and spun round into the wall and out of the race. a pretty poor weekend for Norris's standards. It might be harsh, but I'm going to give him an E because he's crashed out of the race. Maybe it was the car bottoming out, but everybody else managed to stay out of the wall. So, yeah, and the poor quality as well. I've got to go E for Norris. He's had a lot of S's lately, so balance it out a little bit. He's definitely his worst weekend of the year for sure. Esteban Ocon, another one kind of in the contrast to Gasly. Gasly had a great qualifying and did not have a good race in the end result. Ocon was the opposite way around. He had a shocking qualifying, kind of getting impeded by Max, but he also did lunge up the inside of Max before the start of the lap, so kind of see both ways there. I think it was bad by both of them, but then yeah, had a good race and somehow ended up fourth. I don't know how he ended up fourth. I'm going to give him an A. I mean, fourth for an Alpine is usually would probably be an S, but he didn't have a good qualifying. Whether that's his fault or not, we can debate it yourselves, but it's got to be an A. I think Gasly was better this weekend, but for whatever reason, yeah, I don't know what happened with Gasly. It really pains me to put him in B after the performance he had, but if it was a mechanical problem, then maybe I could put him in A, but I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, Ocon coming back to fourth, amazing result for him. It's got to be an A, even after a poor quali. Sergio Perez finally had another good weekend. I mean, Brazil was a pretty good weekend as well. Missing out on that podium was pretty devastating, but it was still a good weekend. But he backed it up here. I honestly thought he was going to win the race at one point, and then Leclerc got through, Verstappen got through. He got Leclerc back for P2 in the closing stages, but then literally on the last lap, Leclerc got him back again with a pretty audacious lunge up the inside, and Perez didn't really seem to see it coming. So yeah, it was good from Perez. He definitely, I mean, qualifying was not good again. P12 was it for Checo? Not great, but all in all, it was a much better weekend for Checo. I'm gonna go A. I can't quite go S because he only got third. He could have maybe won the race. He lucked out with the safety car, you know, managing to be up in that fight with the safety car. It all worked out for him. But yeah, definitely a step in the right direction for Checo. Let's hope he can end the season on a high in Abu Dhabi. Oscar Piastri, terrible qualifying. I think it was P19 for him, which was awful for McLaren, but not that far behind his teammate, to be honest. Both McLarens had a pretty good start. Norris then crashed. Piastri was a bit all over the place with his strategy. Managed to come through for P10, 1 point, and also picked up another point for the fastest lap. So all in all, it was better. It was all right from Piastri. I think I'm only going to give him a C because I think he did. Was it the race he had damage? He maybe had a little bit of damage during the race, I think. Yeah, so that was a bit. Yeah, it's difficult to rate with McLaren because did they just have a bad qualifying and, you know, they kind of got back to where they should be, or they should maybe have been a bit higher? It's difficult to say, so I'm just going to go C for Piastri. He did at least pick up those 2 points. Daniel Ricciardo, bit of a quiet one from Ricciardo this weekend. Not a good qualifying, although he did get into Q2, didn't he? So a decent qualifying for the AlphaTauri. But then, yeah, kind of nowhere in the race. P14 in the end. Didn't really see anything of him at all. I'm just going to go for a C because I don't really know what else I can say. Didn't really see him at all. George Russell, yeah, if he didn't make that contact, he would have finished P4 because he did just get past Ocon at the end. But yeah, the contact was his fault. It was a very audacious move by Max to go up the inside there, but Russell just didn't look in his mirrors. He even admitted to it afterwards, saying, yeah, I didn't even look in my mirrors because I didn't expect him to be there. So you've kind of got to put the blame on him there, although it was a bit aggressive by Max. But yeah, it cost him a good result here. So I can't give him any higher than Hamilton, although I think he did better this weekend, like pace-wise, much better in quali. On the most part, much better in the race, or about the same in the race, I'd say. That contact has cost him a place to his teammate, and it's cost him probably a B, or, you know, if he did finish P4 without the penalty, probably would have been an A for Russell. But yeah, I'm gotta put it down to a C. Carlos Sainz, Another weird weekend for him. Of course, he picked up that damage in FP1, had to take grid penalties, which I still think is ridiculous. Qualified second, but ended up starting P12 because of the 10th place penalty. Made it back up to P6 in the end. A decent enough recovery drive from Science. I think he did a pretty good job. Had contact at the start as well, which wasn't really his fault. He kind of got mixed up in the whole Alonso thing. So I'd say pretty good from Science. He was on pace with Leclerc this weekend. So I'm going to give him an A because I think he just got massively screwed over. If he didn't have that penalty, I genuinely think it could have been a four-way fight, 2 Red Bulls versus 2 Ferraris for the win today, and he would have put Leclerc under some pressure. So yeah, what could have been for Sainz? Logan Sargent, what could have been for him? Great qualifying, P7, started the grid P6, race P6 on the grid, and yeah, just kind of fell off in the race. I don't really know what happened to Sargent. Ended up, where did he end up? P16 in the end. How far behind Albon? 7 seconds behind Albon. I'm gonna give him a B because it was a good qualifying and he wasn't a mile behind Alex. But yeah, still, I really was hoping and believing that at least one, if not both of the Williams were going to score points this weekend, and unfortunately it didn't happen for either. Lance Stroll. What happened to Lance Stroll this weekend? He had a terrible qualifying. All of a sudden, he's up in P5 and finished in P5. Yeah, really good weekend from a really good race from Stroll. Sainz was right behind him at the end, but he did manage to fend him off and finish P5. So what a result! What a result that was. I guess it was P6 on the road before Russell's penalty, but I don't think I can go S because it wasn't a great qualifying, but I think an A. I think I've got to go for an A, and it's a high A for Stroll, one of his better weekends of the year. Yuki Tsunoda did not finish, had a car issue. Not really much more I can say. Didn't have a good quality at all, to be honest, so I'm just going to go a C. I don't think I can dock him more than that. He did qualify P20, though, dead last, so that wasn't great. Max Verstappen, I'm not going to give him an S. I'm going to give him an A because he didn't get pole. The turn 1 incident, I think, was wholly on him, and he deserved the 5-second penalty. Yes, he won the race. He came back through to win the race. I think he lucked out a lot on both safety cars. So yeah, I'm going to go an A for Verstappen. Was put under the most pressure I think he has been all year, to be honest. Maybe with the exception of Singapore, where the Red Bull was just way off. Yeah, it was a harder weekend for Verstappen this time around. And then finally we have Zhou Guanyu, who finished P15. There's not really much to say. I think it's just going to have to be a C. Alfa Romeo didn't see anything of them. He did not have a good qualifying in comparison to Bottas. And yeah, in the race, we saw bits of him here and there. He held up Verstappen for a little bit, which was nice, I guess, although it didn't mean anything in the end. But yeah, just an Alfa Romeo weekend. But there we have it. That is my driver tier list for the 2023 Las Vegas Grand Prix. What did you guys think of this race? Did the hype, did the hype lead up? Did the race lead up to the hype? That's what I'm trying to say. Are you excited for this race next year? I am. I'm actually looking forward to it next year, and I'm looking forward to Abu Dhabi in a couple of weeks' time for the final race of 2023. We'll do the tier list for that one, and then I'll probably do a whole tier list for the whole season, or I might even just do like a, ranking of the drivers instead of a tier list. We'll see. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a tier list of the tracks as well, like of each race as well, like how I rank each race in the 2023 season. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll see where that goes. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.